the human brain is programmed to enjoy fighting? The answer? It's actually true.
That's right. Scientists at the University of Colorado found the brain releases the feel-good chemical dopamine when we fight, so you literally get a rush when you're scrapping. Cheers, Kirsty. First, though, are we all born violent? Is it actually wired into our brains? This is a question Michael Portillo investigated last night for a BBC doco. The one-time Tory MP reckoned he didn't have a violent bone in him, that he could take no pleasure from thumping someone, so producers, quite literally, put him to the test.
Oh, hello.
I was thinking back to the time when Michael was a Tory MP and the violent urges I used to feel. Anyway, is violence hard? Well, violence is hardwired into our heads. We've established that from birth. We need the urge to survive. And indeed, neuroscientists reckon we don't learn to suppress our aggression until we turn about 3 years old. And you only have to look at toddlers, the way they react when someone takes their toys away to see what they mean. I mean, it's quite clear they're little girls and little boys hitting each other. Begs the question, are boys more violent than girls? I mean, when you look at your kids, do you wonder if they'll ever get their aggression under control? And as we get older, our brains develop, of course, and most of us learn to get a handle on our urges. Most of us also develop empathy, the ability to understand others' point of view, which I guess also helps us rein in the desire to go around decking everyone. But not everyone gets the urge, the violent urge under control. People can get hooked on the high that follows a fight. You might be exposed to something horrific that provokes you into lashing out. You know, the classic of, you come home to find your mother being raped or whatever. Or you could be brainwashed into thinking that violence is what's needed in a situation. I'm fascinated by this. Could anyone, even a die-hard pacifist, be provoked into lashing out? Because during wartime, people with no history of aggression, they can be motivated to kill. But some, if you think back to the Second World War, some were prepared to die rather than do even a mortal enemy an injury. So why are some people better able to control the urge to do violence than others? What do you make, Mark?
I think the words here, it's about the words as well. Violence and aggression sound like two different words to me. Violence sounds like an enjoyment of aggression. Aggression sounds like something, a passion that a human has that they need. And I think yes, we may...
Aggression is the force that leads to violence.
Violence and yes, to a violent act.
Yes.
And so that's like... I think, yes, I believe
aggression
we all have
violence
that.
under control? I don't know.
Violence needs to be curbed, but aggression is there.
I watched that thing last night, and what terrified me is they did this experiment with a group of people, normal-looking people, in fact, quite quiet-looking people, and they were told that they put this man in a room, attached some things, and said that these people were told to give him electrical volts. Now, the killer rate was 450 volts. So they were giving this man what they thought was electrical currents. Now, they weren't really, but... And they actually heard a voice going, stop, stop,
Screams.
stop.
They heard them screaming.
Stop, let me out of here. The most quiet-looking of them all administered the killer dose of 450 volts.
But there was an authority. There was a sort of man in a white coat, very austere authority figure, and he's saying, no, they haven't answered the question. You must give them another shot.
But how scary is that? Now we know, we understand how easy it was for Nazism to rise the way it did, for an authority figure to actually say...
Do you think boys and girls are equally violent, men and women?
But, you know, in that little film you just showed there, there was a boy and a girl on that scooter, and they both hung on. The lad was kicking her and trying to get her out of the way. She hung on for grim death.
She also was hitting boys as well. I mean, there was punching on both sides. Now, that's as toddlers, but as we grow up...
But they were saying that toddlers are more aggressive than teenagers.
They're not controlled, yeah, they have no control.
But, you know, the other thing that this was thinking, that if we have, any of us can have an accident, it's all to do with the prefrontal cortex, apparently. Say if you're in a car crash and you hit your head on something, you can be a perfectly normal person, and then half an hour after that car crash, your whole personality can change, and you can go home and you could kill somebody. So any little damage to your head can hurt you. So it's a physical thing as well. It's not just the thing. It's not just a genetic thing. It's a physical thing too. So if you hurt your head in any way, shape, or form, it can completely change your personality.
I'm fascinated,
which is scary,
by how parents bring up children and how they deal with aggression and what they see.
Well, I think there's a lot of nurturing. I mean, I've got two girls. I don't think they're violent or aggressive in any way, shape, or form. Neither am I, and neither is my wife. So we brought them up that way, and I'm sure at the very beginning, if nobody ever touched anybody, then we would have those urges. But as you say, you know, you learn to live with people, and you learn... I've never had a fight, ever.
Could you imagine a situation in which you would hit someone?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
If somebody...
Yeah, no,
I'm not... there is no way I would give anybody any violence at all. But if somebody was beating on my daughter or my wife, it would be a protection thing. It wouldn't be, I don't like his face, so I'm going to deck him, or I don't like the way he's looking at me in a pub after I've had a few beers, so I'm going to hit him. It wouldn't be that. It would be a pure protection mechanism for me. And
so what is the difference between you and somebody like this bloke on the film last night who used to go to football matches
He was
specifically
but he was
fight?
getting high on it, wasn't it? I mean, there's a whole culture of young men and some older men who want to go out on a Friday night, Saturday night.
So that's how they were possibly nurtured, though. That's possibly how they were brought up, in a violent sort of
and I do think today's
surrounding.
society, because of extended families and things like that, they don't always have a role model at home sometimes. I mean, you know, myself and my wife have been together for 24 years. We've got to... It's a good family unit. It's a stable family unit, and we're saying, don't do this. Don't put your hands near the fire. Don't hit that little girl. Don't do this, don't do that from a very young age. So we're nurturing them to be the people that they become. But if they've had a father who maybe drinks too much and he comes home and he gets the belt out and all that, then they start to become more aggressive. And I didn't have a father that got a belt out to me. He spoke to me.
Violence
he told me.
violence.
I think there's definitely some of that in there.
Aggression is part of us being animals, which we forget as humans. We're pretty arrogant about that. I think the point is we're born stupid. And we have to be taught
to be educated,
to be smart people. We have, and I think that's the problem. There's a lot of stupid people running around, not knowing how to deal with aggression.
But the stupid people are the ones that can be corralled by the authority figure and told, go kill that person.
Yes, manipulated.
That's the stupid people that do that.
I think so.
Fascinating. I want to know more from parents as well, what they see in their children. I mean, I'm mindful of a lady who phoned up for one of our experts, and she was literally living in fear of her 14-year-old son. And I find that fascinating because, you know, the aggression had obviously... she never got it under control in her, when he was young, and now it was absolutely... She had no chance. I mean, she lived in fear. Let's throw it open to you. The question is, are we born violent? But any of your thoughts at all on how violence and our heads works? I'm interested in. Kirsty.
Carla's on line 1.
Carla, good morning.